Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. This is a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. It's the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination of civil services will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 23rd of September. The first important news, that is SEBI new account settlement system. We'll see the detail how this new account settlement is going to help or impact the traders. Second, Lancet criticized WHO in fighting the COVID-19 crisis. A detailed report has been published by a reputed journal, Lancet, which has criticized the overall functioning of WHO in fighting the COVID-19. Third, domestic prices of rice may continue to increase. This is what the government has said in its official statement. The second last, rupee slide to new low amid the Fed rate hike. US के Fed के price rates increase करने के बाद उसकी जो impact है वो पूरे global economy में दिखी है. And the last is an editorial freeing the caged parrot. So this editorial basically talks about the functioning of the CBI and its revamp. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions, and these questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I start the session, if you are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do not forget to press a like button. So first news of the day, that is SEBI new account settlement system, something relevant for General Studies paper 3 and important for the topic that Indian economy and issues pertaining to Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. So the new account settlement system for the stockbroking industries will begin from 1st of October 2022. So the next month, the new settlement process for the broking industries is going to start. Now the new guideline is issued by the Security and Exchange Board of India, which was actually notified in July, but it is coming in effect from 1st of October this year only. Now the trading member will have to settle the account on the monthly or quarterly basis on first Friday of the month. For every month or for every quarter, they need to choose a precise date, that is a Friday, which will be counted as a settlement date. Now, settlement of accounts की अगर बात करें, जो market regulator है SEBI, they have mandated that the stockbroker to settle, that means to transfer the available credit balance for their trading account to the bank account at least once in a quarter, right? For 30 days, right? 90 days में या फिर 30 days में. But जो process है, the process of transferring the unutilized fund back into the account, अगर बात करें पुरानी settlement जिस तरह से काम कर रही है, so the process of transferring the unutilized fund back into the account is called as running account settlement. इसको RASB कहते हैं. This is running account settlement, right? Or known as quarterly settlement of fund. And this fund is transferred to the primary bank account that is registered with the individual account. I think most of you must be aware how things work. अगर आपने म्यूचुअल फंड में कभी इन्वेस्ट किया है, SIP कीज है, तो आपने वहाँ पे देखा होगा यू हैव टू लिंक अ अकाउंट, राइट, विच इज़ योर बेसिकली डिफॉल्ट अकाउंट, और सारी ट्रांजेक्शन्स उसी पे होती हैं एंड योर बेनिफिट्स विल ऑल्सो बी क्रेडिटेड ऑन द सेम अकाउंट. सो दिस इज वॉट बेसिकली स्टेटेड इन स्टेटमेंट. नाउ एज पर द लेटेस्ट गाइडलाइन, द सेटलमेंट विल नाउ बी डन ऑन द फर्स्ट डे, बेसिकली ऑन द फर्स्ट डे फ्राइडे, फर्स्ट फ्राइडे जो वीक में फर्स्ट फ्राइडे होंगे उसमें, और क्वार्टरली बेसिस और मंथली बेसिस डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द सिलेक्शन दैट वाज मेड बाय द कस्टमर. अगर कस्टमर ने मंथली बेसिस पर सिलेक्शंस की हैं तो उस मंथ के फ्राइडे को, दिस इज द फर्स्ट फ्राइडे इट विल बी डन, एंड इफ इट इज अ क्वार्टरली बेसिस देन इट विल बी अगेन ऑन द फर्स्ट फ्राइडे ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर क्वार्टर. Now in case where the client has opted for a monthly settlement process, then the running account shall be settled on the Friday of every month. So this is how the change and amendment has been brought in the settlement of the accounts. Now जो market participants हैं उनके क्या concern है इस चीज़ को लेकर के. So coming this October 7 will be the first Friday which will be taken into consideration for the settlement of the operational account. जो implementation हो रही है 1st of October से, उसकी जो first Friday है that is on October 7. And as this is a Friday, industries broke around on 6 about the branching of all settlement on one day as against the individual settlement जहाँ पे पहले 30 days या 90 days पे हुआ करती थी, right? So how the whole industry will function is again a suspicion. Basically, the stakeholders, the investor, are taking a pause in investing also. Now, impact on the investors and trader. So the changes in the settlement that was brought by the Security and Exchange Board of India, better known as SEBI, has brought some basically ये changes जो हैं that was brought in the last year only. Basically RBI ने भी कुछ recommendations दी हैं SEBI को इस तरह के amendment के लिए. So the aim is to protect the investors and prevent them from the misuse of money lying in the trading account of the investors, that is for the long pending. Now, SEBI will move certainly to the investor on the trading members. Basically, कई ऐसे accounts जो dormant accounts हो जाते हैं, even for many fraud is also taking place. So it is being advisable to get their credit back to their account. Now, industry's expert says that it will help the brokers to develop a system just like bank, which credit interest on the account and the customer at the end of the quarter. Now, the other important news, that is Lancet criticized WHO in fighting the COVID-19 crisis, something important for general studies paper 2, that is issues related to development and management of health. So recently, the Lancet Commission, which was there by the Lancet Journal, the Listen, they have said about the future COVID-19 pandemic के बारे में उन्होंने एक जर्नल पब्लिश किया जहाँ पे डिटेल में बताई गई है कि किस तरह से WHO ने फंक्शंस किए हैं COVID-19 को लेकर के. So they have given a set of recommendation also for the future plan that need to be worked with the WHO for acting too cautiously and too slowly on several important matters. Precisely will be concerning about the COVID-19 here, और उसके अलावा कोई फ्यूचर में अगर पेंडेमिक होती है तो उस पर भी रिकमेंडेशंस दी गई है. Now, the report is bluntly critical that not just the WHO but the role of the government across the world. सिर्फ WHO की बात नहीं है, पूरे वर्ल्ड में जिस तरह से COVID-19 को हैंडल की गई है, that was a mishandle, right? Almost 6.9 million लोगों की डेथ रिपोर्ट की गई है and 17.2 million people were estimated to be dead from the COVID-19, right? So basically what the health matrix is there, Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, इन्होंने ये सारी evaluation की और बताई है that if the government would have functioned properly, a lot more life would have saved. Now, finding by the panels, खास करके जो Lancet की panel बनाई गई, उन्होंने कुछ important findings report किए हैं. So the report highlights that inadequate coordinations. First and foremost point that they have highlighted is about the inadequate coordinations among the government to contain the pandemic, and including the protocols, testing strategies, public health measures, social measures, commodity supply chain, data standard reporting and advice to the public despite very high independence on other countries, right? और western countries में अगर बात करें developed system थी, advanced थी, but बहुत सारे developed countries को भी problem हुई. Even for developing countries like India and many other countries have faced problem for the testing and other protocols. Now, the Lancet recorded that the epidemic control was indeed seriously hindered by the public oppositions to the routine public health, and social measures by getting vaccinations indicated that the low confidence among the government and the low health literacy rate also. This is evident for the case of India. अगर India की बात करें तो यहाँ पे ये चीजें काफी evident होती हैं. The report make the cases that for sustaining high rate of vaccination coverage, indicating that the economy recovery depends on low rate of the new clinically significant COVID-19 infection. Although बहुत सारी vaccines आ गई हैं, although India में अभी तक third vaccine booster चल रही है, even for the nasal vaccine which is there. So we have definitely advanced, but we need to be cautioned because this is a virus which is not straightforward. ये कहीं भी जाने वाली नहीं है. It will continue. इसकी जो lethality, जो intensity है, वो कम की जा सकेगी बस. Now, criticism for WHO, जो रिपोर्ट पब्लिश की गई थी Lancet Commissions के द्वारा, they have said WHO come into the criticism after they have acted slowly. Multiple issues हैं जिन पे ध्यान देने की जरूरत है. First is warning about the human transmissibility of the virus, declaring the public health emergency of international concern, supporting international travel protocol designed to slow the spread of virus, and last but not the least is endorsing the public use of face masks as protection and recognizing the airborne transmission of the virus, right? So these all criticism was made by the Lancet commissions, and definitely they have also cautioned that for any future pandemic, the government need to take caution about this. Now, some recommendations that was given. So the new Lancet Commission had given a detail and about the failure that took place, and they've recommended something to end the pandemic emergency, protect against the future health shocks, and achieve the sustainable development for all. Other news, that is domestic price of rice may continue to increase. This is what the government has said. Important for general studies paper 2, that is government policies and intervention for the development of various sector and issues arising from its design and implementations. So according to the Department of Consumer Affairs, which is working directly under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, it said that the domestic price of rice are showing an increasing trend, and it may continue to increase due to lower production that was forecasted for the non-basmati export. And even for non-basmati rice, the export was also there by the government. तो गवर्नमेंट ने इसको कर्ब भी किया है, एक्सपोर्ट को डिक्रीज करने की बात भी कही है. We'll see the detail on the later part of the video. First, let's understand what the news is. So the ministry statement come into one day before like all India कि जो एवरेज रिटेल और होलसेल प्राइस रिलीज की गई है, उसके बाद ये स्टेटमेंट गवर्नमेंट ने दिया एंड सेड दैट wheat flour has recorded 9 to 20% rise in the price a year ago. Now talking about all India daily average retail prices, so according to the data which is available by the Department of Consumer Affairs, अगर retail prices की अगर बात करें, so retail rice is increased by 9.03% and the wheat is by 14.39%. Right? And wheat flour is increased by 17.87% compared to the year ago prices. So this is a comparison. Now for average wholesale prices, it has witnessed 10.16% of the increase. This is an increasing trend in the wholesale price. Wheat की अगर बात करें 15.43 and wheat flour is 20.65 compared to the last year. So these are the comparison for the retail as well as for the wholesale prices. Now, Kharif rice productions की अगर बात करें, एग्रीकल्चर मिनिस्ट्री ने कहा that they have released the first advanced estimate of productions for the major Kharif crops, that is for 2022 and 23, and it says that the rice production that is at 104.99 million tons during the current season, and even the monsoon which was not as expected. तो यहाँ पे बोला गया that 6.77 metric ton की productions हुई, which is 6% lower, and it is like 1.76 production for the last year season. Now the dip in the Kharif rice production is significant in the views of the requirement of the rice distributions under the National Food Security Act 2013. This is mandated to the government that they need to ensure a free and basically subsidized price to be given for the poor people so that they can afford it. Now restriction that was imposed on the rice export, I have discussed this news earlier also. अगर बात करें जो गवर्नमेंट ने रिसेंटली डिसाइड किया था कि एक्सपोर्ट ऑफ ब्रोकन राइस बंद की जाएगी, and they have also basically imposed a 20% duty on the export of non-basmati rice concerning over the low productions and even under the paddy crops, right? तो कुछ 4 कैटेगरीज ऑफ राइस इंडिया में हैं जो एक्सपोर्ट की जाती हैं. The first 2 कैटेगरी फॉर एक्सपोर्ट की अगर बात करें, एक्सपोर्ट में बासमती राइस, parboiled and non-basmati rice are still freely allowed. ये चीज़ें allowed हैं. Now of this, the curb has been made basically in the raw white and the broken non-basmati rice. तो ये 2 कैटेगरी ऑफ राइस ऐसे हैं जिनमें गवर्नमेंट ने एक्सपोर्ट को बैन किया हुआ है, and these exports are allowed. For these 2 category, the exports are allowed. Now in April, the shipment for the record shipment was there, 21.21 metric ton was there, and the value was 9.66 billion. अगर एक्सपोर्ट कंट्रीज की बात करें जहाँ पे इंडिया सबसे ज़्यादा एक्सपोर्ट करती है, दैट इंक्लूड चाइना, सिंगल, वियतनाम, डिजिबूटी एंड इंडोनेशिया. Other news, that is rupee slide to a new low amid the Fed rate hike. US Fed ने रेट हाइक किया, उसके कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज पूरे ग्लोबल इकोनॉमी में दिख रहे हैं, इंडिया में खासा दिखा गया. Now the Indian economy, issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development, important for general studies paper 3. And recently, the Indian rupee has weakened sharply against the dollar with a new low in the wake of the US Fed Reserve increasing interest rate. तो recently US की जो Fed है उन्होंने 75 बेसिक पॉइंट से अपने रेट बढ़ाई है from 3%, now it is 3.25%, right? And this is like a straight 75% hike that we have seen. The rupee depreciation has reached up to 83 पैसे, जहाँ पे बात की जाए टोटल वैल्यू जो है यूएस डॉलर के अगेंस्ट रूपी की 80.79 हो चुकी है, सफरिंग द बिगेस्ट सिंगल डे फॉल सिंस February 24 जब रशिया ने इन्वेड किया था यूक्रेन पे. Now, dollar index की concern बताई गई है. The experts are of the opinion that the dollar index can see a significant increase, implying the most major market currencies, including the rupees, that is under the pressure. This is equally true. This is evident from the fact of the market which is not appreciating this decision. And higher interest rate by the US will force the major central bank, including India, to increase the rate of interest to stem the pressure of the domestic currencies. So this is the only option that is left with the RBI. They will definitely increase the rate in future. Now, Indian equity market can witness an increased volatility. Definitely इस तरह के decision पे Indian economy में काफी ज़्यादा impact होता है. Inflation is also somehow related to it. The impact on Indian market: if the interest rate of the US increase, the spread between the US and Indian government bond will narrow, cause the fund flow from the money pool. अगर government securities की बात करें, इसकी impact वहाँ भी दिखती है. Bond yield will also, due to the growing dollar shortage in the global market, and India is one of the market of the crude oil, which import most of it crude oil from other countries, और जिसकी payment जो है वो international currencies में होती है, तो इंडिया को कहीं ना कहीं एक cost driven inflation होगा जिसकी economy में impact होगी, right? So these are some of the shortcomings of the hike in the inflation. Basically जब US Fed ने rate hike किया. And this is again an important statement for the prelims examination. आपसे prelims में direct सवाल भी यहाँ से frame किए जा सकते हैं कि what are the consequences of a hike in the rate by the US Fed in the Indian market. Now moving to the editorial of the day, that is freeing the caged parrot. This is in context of the CBI. Important for General Studies paper 3, that is various security forces, agencies and their mandate. So the theme of this editorial is functioning of the CBI and the required reform. I'll be making you understand this editorial via some important subheads, that is a Jan Hawala case, also known as Hawala scandal. जो CPI की supervision होनी है CVC के द्वारा, उसके बारे में क्या क्या बातें कही गई है, and some important recommendations that is suggested, that will be again important for your mains paper. Now, in several occasions, the Supreme Court, the apex court of the country, has criticized the CBI that it is working in inaction, and actions, उनके जो बहुत सारे action inaction on several occasions have flagged fundamental problem about the functioning of the agencies. Supreme Court ने CBI को as a caged parrot की भी बातें कही थी. Now, on several occasions, Supreme Court has been criticizing the functioning of the CBI. Now, the recent investigation series of the Indian Express has indicated that there's a continued bias upon the functioning of the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate. अगर बात करें CBI की, that is the Central Bureau of Investigation, it was established under the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act, and it's the central investigation agencies to investigate the serious crime cases in our country, right? Now, it has been repeatedly used for the political weapons by the ruling parties against the opposition. This is an evident fact that we cannot deny, right? And Supreme Court has called CBI as the caged parrot, pointing out its politicization that is taking place. Now, to give you an example about the Jan Hawala case, this is also known as Hawala scandal, is a political and financial scandal involving alleged politicians which have sent the black money through the brokers. They were the Jan brothers who were named, and they have been accordingly, they have been charged. जो enforcement agencies हैं उन्होंने actions भी लिए. Total fraud was reported of around $18 million bribery scandal that has implicated the functioning of. It has also given the evidence that the politicians are more into the Hawala scandals. The CBI has been accused of enormous delay of concluding the investigation. ऐसा बताया गया है कि जिस स्पीड से CBI को फंक्शन करनी चाहिए थी इस केस को लेकर के, they have not actually investigated the matter, and due to the initiative of the Supreme Court, the matter did not progress, एंड इवन टू द लार्जर एक्सटेंट कोई लॉजिकल कंक्लूजन पे भी ये मैटर नहीं पहुंची है जो हवाला स्कैंडल की केसेस, राइट। कई ऐसे इनिशिएटिव सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने लिए, बट डिस्पाइट द फैक्ट नो कंक्लूसिव एफर्ट्स वाज मेड एंड नो कंक्लूजन वाज मेड इन दिस रिगार्ड। नाउ सीबीआई के सुपरविजन्स की अगर बात करें बाय द सीबीआई, बेसिकली यहाँ पे रिकमेंडेशंस दी गई है कि जो सीबीआई है उनके सुपरविजन होनी चाहिए सीवीसी के द्वारा। So the petition was filed before the Honorable Supreme Court in 2013, which gave a series of suggestions to improve the functioning of CBI and make it function under the CVC, that is the Central Vigilance Commission. तो क्या क्या recommendations दिए गए हैं, कुछ ऐसे 9 important recommendation हैं, we'll see each one by one. So the first recommendation that the CVC should be amending, providing 5 to 7 member Central Vigilance Commission, which could be broadly assuming their charges for the Lokpal, and the selection process of the CVC members should be based on basically consensus to favor any kind of individual और किसी भी तरह की controversy ना हो उनके appointment पे। Presently, the members are drawn from Indian Administrative Service, Indian Police Services, and the Banking Services. और ज़रूरत है यहाँ पे कि जो retired सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस हैं या जो सीनियर मोस्ट जजेस हैं उनको भी रखा जाए, राइट। Now, this also, like, there's a something transparent possible, as much as possible the appointment should be made. The second recommendation has regarding the constitution of advisory committee. At least 11 members की बात की गई है for the advisory committee, which come from the background of criminology and even जो criminologist हैं, forensic scientist हैं, इन लोगों को इस particular committees में लाने की जरूरत है, which will be known as a advisory committee, right? And this is the argument that professionals should also lead the functioning of the CVC. Further, it will reduce the burden on the CVC, that it should give power to go with any expertise or professional to assist the screening or the complaint process. Now 3, the jurisdiction है CVC के presently cover all employees and the central government and the CPU should remain unchanged. इसे change करने की जरूरत नहीं है ताकि जो ambit है CVC की वो बढ़े. And to make the arrangement more effective, it would be important for the CVC to exercise the complete control over the selections, appointment and functioning of the CVOs, जो Central Vigilance Officers हैं उनके लिए. Fourth recommendations है that there should be adequate experienced team जो टेक्निकल टीम होगी एग्जामिन कर सके कंप्लेन को, और कोई ऐसे केसेस हैं जो सीबीआई को असाइन किए जाते हैं वो डायरेक्टली इन एक्सपर्ट के द्वारा भी हैंडल किए जा सकते हैं. फिफ्थ, द केसेस असाइंड टू द सीवीसी, the CBI should be made functional and financial independence to control any government or ministries or department. And the professional supervisions of the investigation of the CBI should rest only with the CBC. तो जो jurisdictions है overall एक umbrella अगर बात करें organizations की वो CBC act करे, and CBI is working under the ambit of the CBC. Now 6, that is the manner of the appointment, that the CBI director should be based on the consensus, जहाँ पे inductions चाहे अपॉइंटमेंट की बात की जाए सीबीआई को लेकर should be brought under the overreaching supervision of the CVC, that is Central Vigilance Commission. 7, a better synergy is required between the anti-corruption laws and grievances handling the law related to whistleblowers and the grievance addresser that should be placed within the jurisdiction of the CVC. And the last is that the effective administrations of anti-corruption laws at the grassroots level, और यहाँ पे state and their anti-corruption agencies would therefore need to have equal insulated state government interference on the same line. तो अगर state government जहाँ interfere कर रही है या state की जो पुलिस है उसको भी ट्रस्ट में लेने की जरूरत है ताकि जो ओवरऑल फंक्शनिंग है सीवीसी, सीबीआई और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट की एक कोऑर्डिनेशन के साथ हो सके. Now, conclusion and the bottom line that it is for the nations to demand the country's premier investigation agencies like CBI, income tax authorities and the law enforcement agencies to come into action जहाँ पे वो एक instrument of blackmail और intimidations जो है गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा उसको कम करें और अपनी functioning efficacy को बढ़ाएं. Rather, they should also work with the complete objectivity to in the interest of the nation. ये ज़रूरी है कि इस तरह की जो संस्थान है CBI, CVC, they should work for their spirit and in line with the democracy. And the big question is that who will build the cat? Build the cat का मतलब है कि इस तरह की जो important dangerous task है, जो risk task है, वो फिर कौन करेगा अगर CBI और CV जैसी संस्था नहीं करती है तो. So this is again a big question. You can be even asked for an analysis question on the functioning of the CBI, the overall functioning of the CBI, right? क्योंकि जिस तरह से CBI की functioning रही है काफ़ी debatable रही है ना longer. Now, moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is A. For second question, the correct option is C. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको बताना है मेकिंग पीस विथ नेचर किसने पब्लिश किया है? UNEP, इंटरनेशनल गवर्नमेंट पैनल ऑन क्लाइमेट चेंज, वर्ल्ड फूड एग्रीकल्चर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, वर्ल्ड वाइल्ड लाइफ फंड फॉर नेचर. Second is vertical launch short range surface to air missile. It is an indigenously developed, designed by DRDO. It is capable of neutralizing sea threat at the close range, including the sea skimming targets. So do check it out for the correct option. This type of question might be relevant for the upcoming prelims examination. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis, followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.